Michigan this Sunday. I am now joined by Ryan Stevens of wintherace.info. A little analytical preview by the numbers. Ryan, it's been a while since you and I did this show. How you been? How's your summer going?
Going great. A little hectic. Have a 1.5 and 4.5 year old, so they keep us busy, especially in the summertime. So
Yeah.
when they're home, the 4.5 year old's home all day long, so we're chasing him around quite a bit. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me. I think Michigan's going to be a super fun race. Uh, we had what we just had at Richmond, which is, quite the NASCAR week. I think a lot of people are tuning into NASCAR now, so maybe we'll see Michigan viewership numbers go up a little bit, hopefully. So
Absolutely. One
yeah, I'm
Michigan
pumped.
race a year. It's like Pocono now. I look forward to it more than I maybe did in the past. And I think all the teams and certainly all the manufacturers do as well. I feel bad, Ryan. Before we started recording, I was complaining about having a new puppy at home who's making me get up earlier and stuff. I shouldn't speak to what you're having to probably deal with on a weekly basis right now. But let's talk NASCAR. Let's focus forward on Michigan. Is Ford the manufacturer to beat? Obviously, all three manufacturers are going for what they call the Heritage Trophy this weekend, right there in Motor City. But Ford has won, by my count, 9 straight Cup races at Michigan. Before that, it was Kyle Larson and a Chevy who won 3 in a row. Like, does that make Ford the team to beat, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, winning 9 straight anywhere is unheard of. I mean, that's crazy. I do, however, think, I think Michigan's cool because it does bring all three manufacturers into play a little bit more. In the beginning of the year, it's a lot of like, is Larson going to win or is Hamlin going to win? Or if we go to a short track, like Chris Bell is going to be the favorite or Truex. It's now the Fords are live. If I had to pick my favorite Ford this week, would be Ryan Blaney. In 11 races in this package, I have him fifth in my true performance ranks, tied for third in adjusted speed in all those races. And I look at, all that stuff. Their form at the current track. Blaney, Hamlin, and Larson are the only three drivers that are elite in all three tiers I look at when I do my pre-PQ ranks. So I have him up there with the big dogs this week. So yeah, I think Ford's definitely live and winning 9 straight here, give him a little boost as well.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned it. Larson, Hamlin, Blaney seem to be towards the top of a lot of the analytics. That's a Chevy, Ford, and Toyota. So it is truly about as even across the board as it can be, though Ford has come on strong lately with some good runs, some big wins. I mean, Joey Logano was a turn away from winning Richmond. Not saying he had the fastest car, but he was in position. And then a Toyota and Denny Hamlin was right there as well until a Chevy ultimately crossed the line first. Though Austin Dillon did not get playoff credit for Richmond's win, he still had an unbelievably fast car. Does this mean Richard Childress Racing, I don't want to say is back, but can we say that Richmond was just a fluke, or is there the outside chance that Austin Dillon or even Kyle Busch could contend this weekend at Michigan? What do recent numbers say to you, Ryan?
I will say it's a fluke. However, coincidentally, the last time I had either of these cars ranked as a top 10 car was at Gateway, another shorter flat track. So maybe they figured out something on that track type. But again, that's a different package altogether. One's an intermediate package, one's a short track package. I really do think it was just a one-off. If we look at the most recent races that I just mentioned, like Pocono, same left tire code. I had them 29th and 30th best. I mean, they're
Yeah,
like back of the pack
yeah, they
at a
were
track
nowhere.
like that. So, yeah, you're looking at another long track. Speed's going to come into play. They just haven't had the speed in this package this year. And in my pre-practice and qualifying ranks that I just mentioned, where I rank everything out, I had Kyle Busch 16 and Austin Dillon 27th. So I just don't really see them being a factor. I mean, it's NASCAR. We saw, Austin Cindric show up and win a race this year. He needed a lot to happen, but things can happen every now and then. But if that was Austin Dillon's one time to shine, I think that was it.
Yeah, and it's been a while now. It feels like ages ago Kyle Busch got that win at Auto Club Speedway, which many compare to Michigan, sort of sister tracks. But it's been 18 months. This is not the same Richard
Yeah.
Childress Racing, unfortunately, that we saw at the start of 2023. One driver who has absolutely had the speed lately is Tyler Reddick. He has 9 top 10 finishes the past 10 races, a 3.6 average finish in the last 6 races. These are, I called them ARCA numbers on my show earlier this week. He led 40 laps at Indianapolis, the most recent larger, flatter oval. Do you think Tyler Reddick is a favorite, maybe the favorite to win this weekend?
I don't think he's the favorite, but he is having a great season. I have him as the fourth best in my true performance ranks in this package, and he's tied with Blaney, who we just mentioned, in
Okay.
third in adjusted speed on those tracks. My worry here is that he's never been able to put it all together and get a good finish here. His best finish is 18th at Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Kind of weird. I'd like to think that can change, due to the true performance and the adjusted speed that I said. I don't like to chase, box scores and just look at those finishes. He obviously enters this race, faster than he's ever been. I think if there's any time for him to finally, get a top 10, flirt with a top five, it's going to be this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the playoff bubble. Reddick up there at the top racing for a championship, a regular season championship, but down around 15th, 16th, 17th with Austin Dillon, his playoff eligibility being disqualified. Ty Gibbs is on the bubble. Bubba Wallace with a big couple of weeks here is still +3. Now, Chris Buescher technically is holding on to the final playoff spot, but he is tied with Ross Chastain. I look at those three drivers in particular. Bubba Wallace, I know, was second here 2 years ago. Chris Buescher, obviously, is the defending Michigan race winner. And Ross Chastain, you can't count him out. He's made a deep playoff run before. He's proven he can be good in the clutch. Of those three, or maybe you can even include Ty Gibbs or Martin Truex Jr., looking at the playoff bubble, who stands out to you analytically this weekend?
So it's funny, you write this guide, to the show before, and you mentioned Buescher, Bubba, Chastain. They actually rank 11, 12, 13 in my pre-practice qualifying ranks. So
Wow.
they're all just bunched up together. I think Buescher obviously has the most upside here, having, won here. And he does tend to pop. In the most recent races, we used this left side tire code. Buescher was sixth best at Pocono, eighth best at Nashville, fourth best at Kansas. So we could see the potential again for another top 10, top five run, or they bring the same setup as last year. Who knows? They could make a run to win. Bubba's interesting because he started out the year as one of our favorites to bet top 10 bets for like these 1.5 mile tracks and above with little tire wear. And the only thing he got for us this year is like an undeserving top 10 at Texas.
Hmm.
So it's been very underwhelming. However, he's in the three most recent races in this packages. He's finished fifth, 10th, and seventh. And in two of those races, I had him as a legit top 10 contender. So I think, he's kind of trending in the right direction, I think, on this. Whereas early season, he might have had some poor luck that accounted for those bad finishes. Now, I have something interesting on Chastain. Chastain, I think a lot of people know by now he's having a down year compared to last year. In this package last year, I had him finishing top 10 in true performance rank in 69% of his races. That number is down to 36% this year.
Hmm.
So they are the highest I've ranked him in any intermediate track is the eighth best car. So he just is just not popping. They haven't found the speed where he comes out and you're just like, wow, Ross, they found it this week. They just haven't had that this year. So I'd probably rank them Buescher, Bubba, Chastain in that order. And then you mentioned Ty Gibbs. That's a good one too because he's on the bubble. I think Grandpa's going to give him a fast car here this weekend. Get him in, he's got two good runs here because he's got Michigan. He can show up fast. Darlington, I had him as third best. He finished second.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have a couple good weeks here. And also too, I took a qualifying bet for him to beat Chase Elliott in qualifying this week because he's the number one qualifier in this package this year.
Yeah.
He's actually beat Chase Elliott 9 out of 10 times in this package. So yeah, I think Ty Gibbs can qualify well, be fast, and run up front all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd kind of rank it Gibbs, Buescher, Bubba, Chastain.
I think that's pretty fair. I know we're only talking about Michigan, but even looking ahead, I look at Chris Buescher and I think these next three tracks line up so well for him. He's obviously the defending winner of Michigan, also the defending winner of Summer Daytona. Ford's usually fast there, and he was in contention for the win at Darlington in the spring. So hopefully that team can stay out of their way because, like you just said, I think the speed, especially this weekend, should be at least top 10 worthy. But good stuff, Ryan. Before I let you go, I got one final question. I just kind of want to open it up. Are there any other drivers that pop out to you when you look at the numbers that we haven't mentioned? Obviously, there's favorites like Reddick, Hamlin, Larson, Blaney, the bubble guys, but anyone else sort of in that middle no man's land that you think could surprise us?
Well, I know Hamlin's a favorite, but I did want to mention him or talk a little bit more about him
Mm-hmm.
because he is my pick to knock off Ford's run here at Michigan.
Ooh,
I think
okay.
Denny can get it done this weekend. In my pre-practice and qualifying ranks, he has a gap of almost 2 points in my scores from him to Kyle Larson, which doesn't sound like much, but it is once I kind of level it out at the top. A lot of times they're much closer than that. He's number one in true performance ranks of this package, number one in adjusted speed, number one in track form.
Wow.
If we take my stuff out of it, and I'll use Greg Mathern at Win the Race, his front runners data set that he uses, it's a little different than mine. He goes with 23 and 24 Pocono, Indy Oval, Michigan Auto Club. And Denny Hamlin is number one in running laps inside the top five at a clip of almost 50% of the time. No other driver is over 40% of the time running inside the top five. So he will be there. It's just a matter of if he can finish. And I mean, he's done it before. I don't know. I think Denny is, and this is kind of obvious because he is the favorite, but I think he can knock off Ford this weekend and put it all together and win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's just going to come down to those Joe Gibbs Racing engines. They've blown an engine or had some sort of technical issue 3 weeks in a row. Hasn't plagued Denny Hamlin, at least not since Sonoma several months ago. But if those cars are still in one piece, I think there will be probably several Toyotas up near the front.
One thing I wanted to mention real quick, and I don't know if this matters or not, but Ford has been pretty dominant here. It's you kind of a wide open track. You're just running fast. They're not in the drafting package, but perhaps Ford has had the advantage there. Toyota, with their new body, much, much better on the drafting tracks this year. And again, I know it's a completely different package, but perhaps, maybe, they have a little better aero, something. Maybe it kind of evens it out a little bit, and that might be why they get it done. I don't know if I don't build cars. I don't know, just some sort of theory here. Maybe that helps Toyota this weekend.
Well, I doubt they would design the new Camry to be worse at intermediate and larger ovals, considering how many of them there are. So you may be onto something. You very well may be onto something there. But Ryan, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on the show this week. Let's not wait a month and a half between the next one. How's that sound? We'll talk to you again real soon, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.